by just looking at some of the charities. Charities were there with probably the parish priest, if you went back years, with the Garda sergeant, with the school teacher. There were people that you respected and trusted, and charities were among them because they were doing good work, weren't they? The big change now is that you actually have to earn trust. And if you have trust, if you have respect starting off, you can lose it in a blink. So defining a charity, you will all define your charities in a completely different way. But if you go out to the man or the woman in the street and you say, what's a charity about? Those three things will come up. They're caring, they have concern for people, they're good people doing good deeds. That's the perception of charity. That's why we give you money. That's why we trust you to look after something, because somebody should be doing it. And you're good, caring people, which you are. But you're much more than that. You're also businesses. You have HR issues, you have financial issues, you have how do we structure the business issues, you have how do we cope with distribution. You've all of the things that a business has. But people don't see it that way, and shouldn't see it that way. They see it as, I will give you money and you will solve the problem that I'm giving you the money to solve. From your point of view, everything that isn't about the reason your charity was set up, so everything that isn't about animals, people, young children, health, whatever your charity is about, should be on the repose side. People shouldn't know anything about how you run, what you run, how many people you have. It shouldn't matter. It's just you are there. It's a given fact. On this side, you need to be telling them about all the work that you do so that they get really annoyed and say, that's absolutely appalling. Something should be done about it. I'll give you time as a volunteer. I'll give you money. I'll put you in contact with somebody. I'll help you in some way. When you look at anything, if you're a corporate and you look at going public, which every charity does, but if you look at going public, if you want to raise your hand and say, we're brilliant, we do loads of good work, we'd like you, the media, be that social media, radio, television, whoever, we'd like you to actually focus on what we do and tell everybody else about our good work. The first thing you do is look inside, always. It's the golden rule. You look inside to see, how do you do every single thing that you do? Is there anything that people could call you out on? And if there is, how do you fix it, or how do you begin to fix it? It's rule number one, is if you looked inside first, you would look at, nobody would mind if you said, there was an issue, we didn't have good structures in place, we've now put good structures in place, we're training people, we're 2/3 of the way or 1/3 of the way down, here is the plan, this is what we are doing. We, the public, will say, that's fine, they identified a problem, they're dealing with it, I'm happy. But to say, oh, sorry about that, we haven't actually done anything with it, nobody will give you any thanks for it, and nobody will give you any allowance for it. You're not allowed to make mistakes. It's very, very hard to regain a reputation. Your reputation is built on a number of different things. It's based on what you do, but it's also based on people's experience of you. It's based on people's belief that you've always been there, you've always done good work. Of course you're on the good side. Once you do something that shatters their belief, it's very hard to regain it again. What corporates are inclined to do is, if they do something that massively shatters them, they would rebrand. They'll call themselves something entirely different. And I use the example of Console. If the decision was taken that no matter what you rebrand it, people will still say, but that was Console, wasn't it? The work still needs to be done. People will still give money to the charity, but they need to give it to a different charity. The trust factor was broken completely. So if you're communicating, I think you actually you need to train people not to tell everything they know about what's happening. Just control the amount of information that actually goes out. You need to train people to know why it's important to say, I really can't answer that question. I'd love to, but I really can't answer that question. But somebody will, and have somebody available who will answer the question. So somebody who is media trained, who answers all the questions, that's fine, that's their job. But nobody else gets involved. The only way crisis planning works is if you plan it. It's like fire drills. You do it so often that you stand up and you walk out and say, bugger, I only bought that handbag yesterday and it cost me an arm and a leg, and now it's been left behind, but everybody gets out of the building safely. Crisis management is exactly the same. Who does what? How does it kick in? Where is the second location? If we can't use the location that we're actually based in, what's the second location that we use? Who is the person who knows where everybody is at all times? Who has all of the mobile phone numbers? Who knows that you won't get Ellen because she's in Greece today? And she never answers her phone, she never checks until 6 o'clock in the evening. Who takes responsibility? Who calls it together and says, this is what we do as phase one? You need a plan in place, and you need the plan rehearsed. It's happening. So putting a proper crisis management plan in place that very probably from a charity's point of view decides how many people you cannot include, because you have a shifting sand of volunteers. So how many people just can you not bring up to speed because it will take you too long? And how many people do you actually include? Put your plans in place and be prepared. And be prepared really means prepping. Look at the crisis that can befall. There are two crises that can befall you. One is the one that befalls your charity. One is the one that befalls the sector. So something happens in the charity sector, and particularly if it's in your area. So if you look after animals, and there are 4 other charities that look after animals, and something happens in the animal sector, what's your position? Are you going to say, well, we do? Are you going to jump on the bandwagon and find a way of saying, actually, we've always been good, we do this, that, and the other? Are you going to say, well, the sector has always had a question mark over that person? Are you going to say nothing and keep your head down and hope it goes away? Because everybody else will say, who else do animals? Yeah, you wouldn't know, they might all be the same. So one is about the sector. But the second is about your business. So what's the crisis that can befall your particular business? The other final thought I'll leave you with is that we're all quite forgiving of people who screw up if they say they screwed up very fast. So if I did something radically wrong and if I come in at 1 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock and I walk in the door and go, I'm so terribly sorry, it's entirely my fault, I'm a dope, I thought it was 1 o'clock, I'm an idiot, I'm running an hour late, I'm sorry. The chances are you'll have been sitting saying, I don't know where she is, but like, just think that we're going to sit here for an hour and wait for her. But when I come through the door and say, really, I'm an idiot and I'm sorry and I got it wrong, the chances are you go, stuff happens and I'm here, and we're inclined to forgive, but only if you do it fast, and never blame somebody else. Final thought, never blame somebody else. Take the rap yourself. It never works if you say, we were putting a structure in place, and actually it's just unfortunate that we hadn't finished the training with Brooke. If she had had a bit more training, she would have known. But sorry, who was training her? Who's the charity? You're responsible. We screwed up. We didn't do the right training. It's never down to somebody else. It's always down to you. And if you can, the hardest thing to do is put your hand up and say, we got it wrong, by the way. It's also the bravest thing to do, because you've got to walk out there effectively buck naked in a storm saying, it was me. But we did it with all the right reasons, but we definitely screwed up. But it's generally your best defence if you can.